Like it or not, MGK has been one of the most polarizing figures in rap and just music in general over the past, I'd say, 6 years. And a lot of people nowadays will clown MGK or just not take him seriously and call him a genre hopper, when realistically that's just downplaying and disrespecting his craft and his career as a whole. MGK has been a solid rapper, and recently there was a Mount Rushmore of white rappers that was made, which did not include MGK, which I just think is crazy. And the disrespect to MGK's name there, it's just wild to me, and I want to talk about it real quick. My name's Ron. I make weekly videos on hip-hop. If you don't want to miss a future upload, or if you enjoy this video, please be sure to subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. So if you want to help me out with that journey, I'd really appreciate it, and let's get right into the video. So, first of all, the whole Mount Rushmore trend is kind of crazy, and having a Mount Rushmore of white rappers is kind of wild. But regardless, this Mount Rushmore that we saw included acts like Russ, Mac Miller, Eminem, obviously. But one person that caught a lot of people by surprise was MGK. And for good reason, because MGK has been proven to be a very talented rapper throughout his career, and really has done a lot in the rap space that gets overlooked, especially nowadays, because he's more in that pop punk lane nowadays. And obviously people are going to take that as to him just using rap to get on and then shifting. But we're going to get into that. I want to get into the biggest reason that MGK gets disrespected. And it's honestly a reason that he should get more respect instead of the disrespect that he gets. And it's his beef with Eminem that he had, that rap battle they had years back. And honestly, he held his own. Looking back at it, nobody can say that MGK didn't hold his own against Eminem. And the fact that he went toe-to-toe with M is pretty crazy, because 99% of rappers aren't doing that. 99% of rappers are going to duck Eminem, or just not going to take him head on, or they're not going to initiate a beef with him. One, because he's just very respected, and two, because M's going to chop anybody up, really. But MGK wasn't scared to do that. He went at him head on. He took the challenge, and honestly, I think he held on pretty well. Really the only, I guess, bad bar he had that latched to people was his beard is weird. But other than that, I feel like MGK really held his own in that rap beef. I don't think that he got washed necessarily. I think it was a good battle. Both had good records. And the only thing that I think MGK fumbled was that EP he dropped after that. He should have had an album in the tuck, or an album worth of material ready in the tuck for this situation. You can't just go on and drop just some filler songs as an EP and hope that they'll stick. Because I think after the beef, that EP sold 15K first week. Don't hold me to those numbers, but it was something along those lines. And it just was a bad look, because obviously an EP is going to sell a little less. An EP isn't going to do the numbers of a full album because there's less records on there. But you had all that attention on you. You have to drop an album right after to do those numbers. And also, it's just a bold move, because if you drop an album right after a rap beef, or right when you're in the middle of a beef, it's going to have a lot of eyes on you for people expecting you to sell high, but not everybody's going to check out the music. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So I think that's the only part where he fumbled during the beef, was dropping that EP. I think he should have either left it at that or had an album ready. But regardless, after that, he also had Jack Harlow duck him. I don't know if y'all remember when Jack Harlow dropped Jackman, he had the song They Don't Love It. Sort of dropped a little bit of a subliminal towards MGK, saying that I'm the hardest white rapper since Eminem, and whoever just came to your mind, I'm better than them. And a lot of people, MGK came to their mind. So obviously MGK responded to this. He responded to this on he was doing a backyard freestyle series.
I'm a great white, I can eat these barracudas. See who I am? You're stupid, it's nice to meet you. I just put this hole in the ground for you like a soccer cleat shoe. I see why they call you Jackman. You Jackman's whole swag, give Drake his flow back, man. I eat rappers like PacMan.
And Jack Harlow got asked about this in an interview, where he essentially downplayed it. And he was like, yeah, it's a competitive sport. I expected people to reply, but he never came with a response himself. He just went on to just duck the whole situation and let it blow over. I think other rappers, if they're ducking MGK, obviously that's for a reason. Obviously it's because they know they'll get pieced up by him if they were to choose to respond. And Jack Harlow might not be the best example, to be honest. He is a great rapper, but he's more gone into that pop lane too. So honestly, that's kind of a fitting beef in a way, but at the same time, I think that Jack knows that MGK would have pieced him up on that. I feel like MGK is not getting the respect he deserves in this sense. He's not one that's down to back down from a battle. He's one that's down to take on really any rapper, I think. And he can hold his own against just about any rapper in the game. And that's something that just doesn't get enough recognition. Also, I feel like at this point, he's really proven his abilities in rap. He's done numerous freestyles. He still does freestyles to this day. And he's dropped a lot of great records, Lace Up or General Admission, where he's essentially showing you the different flows. He's showing you that he can really rap. He's not just doing this as a gimmick. And he's just versatile as an artist. I don't see him as a genre hopper. As more so, I see him as somebody who found his sound later on in his career. Because even early, like 2013, 2014, MGK, everybody can see that he was more so like a punk artist in the rap lane. He wasn't necessarily always accepted fully as a rapper. Everybody knew that he had this sort of multi-genre blend to him that wasn't necessarily just rap. And I think that's something that people forgot about, because MGK, his whole career, everybody sort of seen him as somewhat of a punk artist in a way, even though he was mainly rapping. It's just the image that he had, and then he just sort of leaned more into it. I think he just discovered the sound that he enjoys, or the type of music he enjoys making more. Not necessarily saying that he doesn't like to rap, but I just feel like he knows that it's more fitting. So I wouldn't really call him a genre hopper. I would just call him more somebody that grew into his sound. And part of that is also strategic in a way to level up his career commercially. But that's with everything. If in business you realize something is working, you're going to lean more towards that. And he knew that he was good at that pop punk sound, and he leaned more into it because it's what he's good at. And it's what's getting him to headline at these festivals, getting him to perform these big shows, getting him to sell more than he's ever sold in his career. So I don't think it was necessarily just genre hopping just for the commercial success. I think a big part of it is also seems more like a sound that MGK is comfortable in. And also with that, I feel like he's also, over the past 10, 12, 15 years, he's developed such a loyal fan base that has leveled him up so much throughout his career that nowadays he's headlining all these major festivals. He's doing bigger shows than he's ever done. He's selling more tickets than he's ever done. And he's selling more records than he's ever done. Tickets to My Downfall was a great commercial success. And you can't really hate on them for that, because he didn't completely abandon rap. It's a whole different conversation if he went on and just abandoned rap. He never rapped again, and he just dove straight into this genre, and he just never talked about being a rapper, collab with other rappers. But he's still rapping. He's still dropping freestyles. He's still having some rap records. He's still collaborating with Thug. He had Young Thug on his last project. He's still collaborating with rappers. He's still very much involved in the space. I don't think he just used the genre and abandoned it by any means. I think he's still showing his appreciation for the genre that he blew up in and that he has an immense talent in. So I think that the MGK hate is just way too overplayed. I think that it's way more hate than he deserves. And I feel like MGK has always gotten downplayed in his career. And he's just a talented rapper. I know he's not for everybody, but definitely you can't listen through his whole discography and just say that he doesn't have talent as a rap artist. I think that's just ignorant to say. And I think a lot of the people that downplay his talent are just people that haven't even dove into his discography at all, or have just heard the couple of records but never really dove into the deep cut of the MGK discography. Jeez, I've said MGK so many times this video that doesn't even sound like a real word anymore, or a real name anymore. But that's what I think of MGK. I think that he's super talented. I think that he deserves a lot more respect. As far as being on that Mount Rushmore, honestly, I don't see him being able to be swapped out for anybody, but I do see he should at least be in the conversation. I feel like if you're going to make that Mount Rushmore a picture, you got to add a fifth hat on there. Just with any of these Mount Rushmore pictures, it's hard to pick just four. So in anything that you talk about, it's going to be hard to pick the top four. There's always going to be people that are lying right outside of there, or that you can swap out and still have a fair perspective on it. So I think either way, you could have swapped any of these other guys out and put them in there, and then people would have been like, oh, where's this guy? So I think it's very subjective, but I think that MGK is somebody that definitely deserves to be up there. And honestly, MGK was blowing up when I was really getting into music while I was growing up. So I think that I just grew up listening to a couple. I didn't really grow up the biggest fan of MGK necessarily, but I was always aware of what he was doing. And I was always, whenever he dropped a project, I would go listen to it, not maybe in full, but maybe skim through it, listen to a couple records off there. Even there were a couple projects that I did listen to all the way through. But I know I've always had MGK in the back of my head whenever it was time for him to drop. And I feel like he's super talented. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And props to him for having the success he's having now and the success he's been having in the past few recent years, because as somebody who's seen him been grinding for the past 10 years, it's nice to see him finally getting his flowers in one sense or the other, even though that comes with a lot more hate. I feel like MGK is in a good place in his career, and I feel like he's doing really well, and I'm excited to see what he drops next. So that's what I think of MGK. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to start a discussion with you guys. If you did enjoy the video, remember to like and subscribe. It definitely helps me out a ton. And I appreciate you guys sticking around this long in the video. It definitely means a lot. I do have a Discord server now. I'm going to leave the link to that in the description if you want to join that. Definitely a lot of cool people in there, so it'd be nice to have you in there. And my name is Ron. I will see you in the next one. Peace.